We arrived at Will Gabbett's place as he was shipping out the first load of Christmas trees.
Some Christmas trees, as you can see behind us here. We've just done about 2,500 there over the last week or so.
Has Christmas trees always been part of what's going on?
We used to do about 7,000, but the whole sort of industry in Ireland took a massive hit about 3 years ago. So we're kind of pulling our neck back in that in a big way, as a lot of other people, the sort of smaller producers, really got hit hard. But there's a lot of guys still doing quite well out of it. The guys who really focused on it. My name is Will Gabbett, and you're at Ballatoban Farm here. We're about 400 acres, 300 of tillage and 100 acres of forestry, generally native woodland. We've got some ancient woods. We've some maps from 1655, so and some of the woods are on that as well. So, and you know, we've got evidence recently of ring forts and Bronze Age roadways and things like that on the farm as well. So we like to think that those guys were still using the woods here.
I'm Mickey Gabbett. I am Will's dad, and I came back to farm here in 1977, I think.
Okay.
My father just handed it all over to me, and I took over. And very soon after I came back here, I got very interested in forestry, and I became involved with the Irish Timber Growers, and was on that committee for a long time.
And was there much forestry here then in 1977?
There always was a historic sort of 100 acres of woodland on the farm.
Okay.
And so from then on, I think I started in about 78, 79, planting little bits around the farm. The one here is part of it, and you'll see others as we go.
Yeah.
But the core, the big wood, which is a 46 acre oak wood, and two other main oak woods, and it amounted to 100 acres when I started.
The adoption of biomass boilers by the local Camp Hill community in Ballatoban presented an opportunity for Mickey to get involved with delivering wood chip to these boilers.
Leader actually granted a trailer to deliver the wood chip and the weighbridge, which you've seen up there.
Yeah.
And yes, and Camp Hill, Leader helped Camp Hill to buy a chipper, and we started the business here, and it was going well. We were delivering to about 10 or 12 different boilers within what we call tractor range, within a sort of 20-mile radius.
With the wood chip, primarily the source of the timber is from local woods around the area that we would purchase in, because even with 100 acres of forestry, we're unable to supply ourselves with enough timber. So we buy from local growers through forest management companies or forest companies.
The very local nature of this fuel network speaks directly to current energy concerns.
The whole concept of the thing being parish-based rather than a national base. So the timber comes from locally, and it's chipped, it's dried here, and it's chipped here, and it's delivered locally. So the actual carbon imprint of delivery and diesel and everything else is so much less.
When the wood chip business started up, they were buying in most of the softwood for chipping from local forests. And this also points to the long-term nature of forest rotations.
There's quite a lot of softwood that we do as well, so that's really good, because that we can dry down well below 20% within a 9-month period, as long as we have those summer months. So that's great. But and that really is tied directly to the biomass that we buy in for chipping. So we can only supply ourselves with a small amount of timber for softwood, but hopefully there's more coming online all the time, because of, as you mentioned earlier, sort of it's a historic thing, and I'm working from what my father has planted in the past, and hopefully my kids will be working from what I've been doing in the past and all the rest. So it's it really is a sort of, forestry is a very slow process, and you're always just working with what people previous to you have done management wise. So
chipping timber for biomass is one way to deliver wood as fuel, But firewood requires less processing, and this side of the fuel supply line also began to grow as a source of income for Ballytoban.
In our case, yes, our firewood business is flying. It's a good business. We have clients who are coming back again and again, and our sales unit, we don't bag it, we just sell a bucket from a loading shovel. And that the bucket is our sales unit.
2 buckets, one's 1.4 cubic meters and one's 1.7 cubic meters. Depending on what trailer you bring in, it will dictate what bucket you get. And it's pretty simple. Drive in with a trailer, just put it in, and give me the money, and off you go.
Most of the trees on the farm here are made up of hardwoods. The market for hardwoods in Ireland is underdeveloped, but finding niche markets for this wood sees a high return, and the lower value hardwoods make it into the wood fuel supply chain.
We think that the big wood, which we might see later, was probably fairly well harvested during the First War. So the age of what we see down there was sort of 1918 onwards, I think.
What we do with our timber here on the land is actually we make firewood. So we fell the trees in a sort of a sustainable thinning process. So we rotate every sort of 7 years into the old hardwood woods, so that we're never taking too much and make haste slowly, as they say in forestry. So you're never shocking the wood too much. So yeah, that's part of it. So the timber gets felled. We select the poorer quality trees, so that we're always aiming to get the best trees at the best quality we can. So for example, we sold 10 trees to Middleton to make whiskey barrels out of, and that's what we're aiming to do, is to produce the highest quality timber for those kind of things. So but as a sort of a sideline to that, there's a lot of byproduct, and that byproduct we produce into firewood, which we will fell, stack in its length, try and get that dried down as best we can over between 9 month and 2 year period. As long as you get the summer months, you can get a fast growing species like ash down to about 20% moisture if you have a good drying site. But a slower growing, denser timber like oak or beech really needs to have 2 years of drying to do that. So there's a management of trying to keep that sustainable, so that people can come in and buy dry timber, because as we all know, there's in the media recently they're talking about making it illegal to sell undried timber below anything above 20%. So
because it's not efficient.
Exactly, and there's particulate matter that becomes an issue with in the air as well. So we don't want that.
Selling oak trees for whiskey barrels is just one example of markets for hardwoods, a market that Mickey thinks needs more investment.
I've been banging a drum for a long time, which is that there is not enough downstream support for people who are growing hardwoods. There is no industry being supported growing up to use those hardwoods that we're all being asked to plant. So I really would love to see a focus away from Sitka spruce into downstream use for hardwoods.
Wood chip, and increasingly firewood, is one of the income sources for Gabbett's farm, but tillage is the main focus of their work. But even there, Will is finding use for forestry byproducts.
We're trying to get away from artificial fertilizers as much as possible. I don't know whether you've been hearing in the news or not, but fertilizer has gone up about 3 or 4 times the value because of gas issues from Russia and places like that. So we're trying to get as much biological activity in the soil as possible. So one of the best ways of doing that is to encourage fungi in the soil. So part of that is to use the waste sawdust after it's decomposed for a few years, and I'll be adding a little bit of green material in that to try and encourage that to happen, and then we'll be spreading that out onto the ground, very very thin little spread, but that's enough to stimulate the soil to become more fungal dominant.
The biomass market in Ireland is still a developing one, and Ballytoban Farm has been involved with it from its early days, meeting the challenges and adapting accordingly.